I noticed that just with that 135, I noticed that balance at the top is a little different. So I figure if your feet are too far out, you're gonna have a problem with falling backwards. So you kind of want to find that balance.
Absolutely, that's a great point. And if your toes are pointed out, really excessively, then your center of gravity is going to be compromised a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the same idea as a squat or conventional. You kind of, like driving through the heels, right? Another kind of misconstrued cue. Yeah, you're grabbing the ground with your foot. You're almost driving more through like your arch, kind of.
Yeah.
If you think mid-foot, the bar's over my mid-foot, I'm going to be a lot more balanced if I'm driving through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get too concerned with some of these tiny details about whether Mike's left toe pops up with 225 and things like that. We are trying to lift perfectly. We're trying to have great execution. But we're not really sweating the really tiny things. We're more into just how we're going to be able to lift the most amount of weight the safest way possible.
I gotta figure out this landmark so I know every time.
Yeah, I'll go a little bit wider.
So he's talking about landmarks.
Yeah.
Here's one here, the power ring. Yeah. That's a great indicator of, you can kind of set up based off of those power rings.
Maybe your shins on that, maybe your pinky toes on that, whatever it might be. You can get the exact same every time.
As far as hand width, just where gravity wants to take them.
Yeah, you want to we try to go straight line from shoulder to bar.
Okay.
That's actually a pretty good question because sometimes people are way in. That's going to shut off your lats and back a little bit, and then the way out is going to increase the range of motion. Good, weight back. Yep. Really
You
good.
can get the camera over here and kind of look at what's going on with his legs. It's a great indication of what's happening here. Watch as he comes back on the next one here, as he raises his hips up. Watch all through here, all the little muscles moving and sliding around. He's got tightness already. He's already using the bar, even though he's in somewhat of a relaxed position, he's already utilizing the bar to pull himself into position. That is the most critical thing with the sumo deadlift, is that you're pulling yourself into position properly.
I'm kind of thinking of it as when you're getting under the barbell squat and you're like wedging yourself into position, the barbell is kind of jumping out of the rack.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing, rather than passively getting under the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, just wedge it in as tight as you can.
Do this for the tubes, buddy. Too far to sweep down? 3?
It's good to ensure normal pressure.
This is important. I'm glad you brought this up. I held a fart in. I was probably about 18. I held a fart in doing 405 deadlift. I was doing it for some reps at the time, and at the end of every workout I would do it for as many reps as I could. I was cranking through some reps and I wanted to finish up, and I tried to hold a fart in and just totally like slipped a disc in my back. And it was hurtful.
Because you were holding it?
Yeah, I tried to hold it in. I didn't want to let it go. Totally blew out my back.
That fart's
Don't hold in your farts.
What if there's a hot chick lifting next to you?
That's kind of what's going on. That's why I held it in.
That's the logo.
Yeah. No one can tell what it is at that point. It sounds like you ripped a
farts make noises in your
Just screaming at the same time.
Well, it's just like such a loud pop. No one thinks
It
it's a
sounds
fart.
like denim ripping.
Yeah.
Good, really get those hips back, knees out.
Face down, ass up.
That's the way we like to fuck. Hips just a hair higher.
Yep.
Just a hair higher. Start pushing it back towards the wall. Yep. There you go. Hook gripping son of a bitch. Nice one. That's really good.
A little more gradual tension. The last one, I heard the kind of the clink of the barbell there.
Okay.
Make sure you're really almost trying to intentionally get it bend in the middle of the bar.
Okay.
And how hard you're pulling on it.
So I got a question about, I don't want to get too complicated, but should your knees and hips lock out at the same time? Because I noticed, Ed Cohen, Dan Green, a lot of times on their heavy sets, they're really like taking full advantage of the leg drive, and their legs will lock out, and then they'll wedge their hips forward.
Key to what there's two keys to what you just said. Number one, you said Ed Cohen. Number two, you said Dan Green. So sometimes when you're watching the YouTubes, You got to categorize people as professionals, long-time professionals. Mike played basketball, you know, it's cool to emulate MJ and go out there and try to do the stuff Jordan did. You need to know the basics, right?
Yeah.
Before you
Stay
can
in
do,
your lane.
Yeah,
before you can do a Jordan layup where you come around the other side of the basket and lay it up off the glass, you got to learn how to do a regular layup, right? So that's number one, is realize sometimes there's professionals who can sometimes do some unique and crazy things. The second thing you said was you notice when they do a heavy lift. A couple things to keep in mind there is these guys have lifted more weight than anybody in the history of powerlifting. Many, many times they have all-time world records. So that's going to look quite different. When you're lifting heavy, period, lift it perfectly or lift it whatever way you can.
Right.
When you're lifting heavy, all kinds of crazy shit happens. Now, whether you should lock your legs out first or have your back locked, I think what you're trying to do is have everything kind of lock out all at the same time. There may be exceptions to the rule because somebody might have like really long legs or something weird, and so they may intentionally lock their legs a little early. A cone was a big proponent of saying push into the floor and then pull the weights into you. So he kind of intentionally did that.
Right.
Whether that's the best route for everybody to go, I'm not really sure. But I do know that just when the weights get to be heavy, when they get to be extreme, things are going to look quite different.
Right.
Yeah, if you start to lock out knees too early in the sumo, you get more of those balance issues than you would conventional.
More
If you,
calf length.
yeah, and if you do a conventional, it's just going to put a lot on your low back. So
Yeah.
some guys mess all that out. But conventional, my experience, my opinion, lock both at the same time.
Okay.
Sumo, my experience, my opinion, lock the knees at the same time, if not a hair early, just to get them out of the bar path.
So the execution to both, the conventional sumo, is pretty much the same. It's just a
Very
different
similar
setup.
I'd say sumo, you would lock a hair early just because you got to get those knees out of the way. You can't pull it in a perfect line. If you pull it in a perfect line, then you're going to lose contact with your body. If I lock those knees just a hair early, now I can keep it into my body.
Right. Okay.
That's the only way I would say.
405 pounds.
I'm off the team. Shit.
Hey, listen, buddy, it's not that big of a deal.
Do we have a Sharpie?
This wall only costs about $4,000. We work really hard in this gym to try to keep people off this wall. One guy,
it's an outsider.
he's so pissed at one guy that never came back. It wasn't really that big of a deal, but he never came back.
Oh no.
You can't tame them. I mean, I think that's the real issue
I'm
here.
taking train.
This is my first day. This is actually my first time lifting weights. All this.
One cool cue we can go with, especially since you pull hook grip, similar to a bench. We already talked about locking in those lats and pulling in the bar to you and activating your lats. When you're hook grip, it's a little bit easier to see visually. It's more like a bench press. Where when I'm benching, I need to get that kind of torque on the shoulder. The shoulder's really mobile. So what we can do is pull those elbows. You're squeezing the bar as tight as you can. You're going to pull those elbows into your side and back towards the wall. So not only am I going here, but then I'm going here. Yeah, a little easier to see than over under sometimes.
Come on now, here we go.
Weight back.
There you go. Good. Throw the knees out.
Let's come in a bit.
Do one more. Throw the knees out a little more. Well, because the knees are starting to travel forward a little bit, so you don't really want them traveling forward too much. Very bottom, throw them out hard. There you go. Yep. Sometimes you get a new cue and sometimes it's going to suck. So you have to,
No, that was okay.
have to be aware of that. Sometimes it's not going to always feel right away. Take your time. Make sure it's right before you go. Keep the weight close, dude.
I did feel the weight come away from me. Was that
Yeah.
just not pushing it back enough?
Yeah, your hips are a little low.
Yeah, your hips were a little too low. And then
Okay.
it drove you kind of that way and then drove you this way. Back off the bar just a tiny bit. There you go. If you get too close to the barbell, sometimes you can end up kicking it forward a little bit.
Good. Start falling back, hips back.
Yep, there you go, good.
Was that any better?
That was a little better.
They can,
Yeah.
It was a little bit better.
So, all
It was
right.
a little bit better. It still drifted a little bit in the middle there, but it's okay.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something. You guys got anything to say before we cut it out?
Sumo deadlifting is very hard. Powerlifting is very hard. It takes time. It takes time to learn it. You're not going to learn it in a day. You're not going to learn it in a week. You're not going to learn it in a month. You're not going to even learn it in a year. It takes a long time to learn this stuff. I've been doing it forever. I'm still learning. Silent Mike's been doing it for a long time now, and he's still learning. I want you to apologize to me, Silent Mike, Super Training Gym, everybody watching for jacking up my goddamn
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That's I guess that's training untamed, huh?
That's part of it, I guess, huh? Anything, Mike?
Yeah, just every session you go into, take the time to not only worry about sets, reps, and weights to get strong, but also have something particular in your head that you're going to fix in your form.
Yeah.
Think about it as a skill. Think about it as golf range, getting better. Think about it as free throws, basketball, getting better in the skill, as well as getting these sets, reps, volume done. It'll accelerate a little bit.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely value in not every training session, but pushing that maximum. Because if we were just to stick with 315, I would have been like, yeah, my sumo deadlift's good. But once we got up heavy enough, it's like this is fucked up, and I can feel what's wrong. So, like you said, perfect clean reps in the gym practice, and yeah, I'm excited. So thank you guys very much for the help.
Thanks, buddy.
Until next time, always remember.
Train on 10.